Okay, now we're getting into export options. Export means to take a program, copy something from program A and stick it in program B. A really simple way to talk about that is copy and paste. So the simplest version of an export is to say, highlight this. Let's say that you wanted to copy that into YouTube or your word processor. So you highlight it first and then you hit Control C. Alright? Then you go to your word processor, which right here is WordPad, and you hit Control V and it pastes. Now look really carefully. What pasted was more than what I highlighted. It also pasted the verse. You select that option elsewhere. That's selected down in here. Okay, see where it says place reference before text or after text? If you didn't check either one of these boxes, you wouldn't get what you see at the left in dark blue, namely here. The Psalm 98 reference would not have pasted. Okay, but I wanted it pasted, so I clicked one of these two. Alright, that's not given to you as an option in here, but it's given to you as an option in here. Okay, and that's really important because there are copyright rules. Every single Bible that's printed has a copyright notice in the front of the Bible that says you're not allowed to paste it in public in print unless you reference the source, and that's understandable. I mean, they put millions of dollars into making these translations, and they ought to be noted. And besides, you want everybody to know what version you're quoting from. All right, so you always have to use these little designations here that are in BibleWorks are the well-known designations that everybody uses. So you want them to be pasted. All right, so in order to protect yourself from copyright violation, because even if they don't catch you, God will. I mean, we don't mean to violate things and stuff like that, but here, this is how you avoid it. Okay? Because God deems you guilty even if you don't know what you're doing. It's a lesser penalty if you don't know what you're doing, but you're guilty if you do it wrong. So we all sin millions of sins a day and we don't even know. Okay? That's why I use 1 John 1:9 like breathing. Okay, so in order to obey copyright, do that. And besides that, that's better because then you know where you got it from, and so does everybody else. All right, and again, it will automatically therefore copy the citation, which right here is NAU. All right, so that's the first basic idea of what is constituted as an export, and it works anywhere because it uses Windows functions. Now there is a bug. It might not be in your version, and it might depend upon what operating system that you use. In the very first 8.00, I forget what version I'm using, but it's 8.006 or something of BibleWorks, there is a bug that they fixed since. So it depends on how old your BibleWorks 8 is. You cannot do Control-C and Control-V if you use the editor. They fixed that in an update, but the update trashed my ability to recall different verses. Like here, if I wanted to change to Lamentations, for example, you saw how fast that was. Well, what happened with the update patch when they fixed the bug with the editor was that it isn't fast anymore. It takes at least a minute for me to change verses from here back to where I was. Okay, it's really hard and slow. All right, so if you find out that you can't use Control-V and Control-C, then contact the BibleWorks people and they'll send you a patch. But if you're on XP Home or XP Professional, that patch might slow your machine down. Now that brings up something related. Every time you exit BibleWorks, what you want to do is exit this way. Exit and save checkpoint. Again, the word checkpoint's not a good word. Exit and save your current configuration, your current settings, everything current. Exit and save it as a rollback position in case the next time you get an update from BibleWorks or something happens to your machine, you can roll back to when BibleWorks was working. I learned this the hard way, remember it. Whenever you exit BibleWorks, do what's highlighted in dark blue there. Do not just do this. Do this. I wish they'd make that the default. Okay, but as far as I know, it's not a default. So you have to remember it. These problems do not apply to earlier versions of BibleWorks, at least not to version 5. It's version 8 and maybe even 7 that had all the glitches in it, because they souped it up. They gave it lots of extra features. And of course, with extra features comes extra complexity and extra bugs, because we're not perfect. That's why Christ saved us. Alright, so when you save BibleWorks, you save it here. Use checkpoints and exit and save checkpoints, and you click on that to exit every time. That way you'll save yourself a lot of wear and tear in the future. Okay? So, getting back to export. Now you have all these options, and they're really pretty straightforward if you know something about computers, but if you're new to computers, it's going to be Swahili to you. Alright? First option, you want this checked. Send RTF to clipboard when exporting. Whenever you do Control-C, alright, you're not only collecting the text, you're collecting the formatting that goes with that text. And what this is saying is, hi, we're gonna change the formatting to RTF, which is the most common word processing format. Goes all the way back to when computers were invented. All right, you're gonna format it as an RTF file. You really want that, okay? Especially with Word, because Word cannot handle the Hebrew and Greek very well. So that's what you want to do. The second thing is, do you want the carrier returns from the line feeds? Like, for example, like here, you got a carrier return here, and then it feeds the line to the beginning here. All right. In other words, do you want to preserve the BibleWorks formatting? And I submit to you the answer is going to be yes, especially if you use Word or WordPerfect. Okay, because they can't read the Hebrew and Greek text very well. English is okay, but if it doesn't work and you don't like it, then you can always change it. All right. So send carrier returns and line feeds here. Now you'll also have that option to do the same thing here. See where I have here, edit a new line after each reference. Reference means after each verse. Okay. So like let's say I want to do this. All right, I want to say Control-C here. And I do Control-V there. See what happened? Now watch. Add a new line. I'm going to uncheck the box. And now I'm going to check the box. Well, it didn't do it right. Okay, it's not giving me sample output the way it's supposed to, maybe because I'm recording. But basically, if you don't check the box, then this is all going to run together as a paragraph. Alright, so you're not stuck with making the choice here, or you can leave the choice as your default, and then on the fly you can check or uncheck the box here. Okay? I'm sorry, but they're just, you know, like I said, it's a very sophisticated program, so there are a lot of options. Generally speaking, you want to preserve it. Alright, and if you don't like it, you can always uncheck the box. Alright, next option, export colors to clipboard and editor. I submit that you should check this because you're used to the colors that you used in BibleWorks, so that when you go to your word processor, those colors will help you format more quickly. And in almost all word processors I've ever worked with, if you want to delete the colors, you usually hit Control-A, and then there's some button in your word processor that makes you able to delete the color with just one click. So, you know, or you can just paint the text you want to delete the color from and then hit that same button in your own word processor. Alright, so I would recommend keeping that. keep your colors, and then in your word processor get rid of the colors you don't want. Because you're used to them in BibleWorks if you set them in the first place. If you set up your colors in the first place, which I'll have to cover in a future video, then you're going to want to keep them. Alright? The same thing goes for the formatting. Again, especially in Word and WordPerfect. Every version I know. And I've worked with WordPerfect for over 20 years. I hate it. I hate Word also. This kind of formatting, they just can't handle it. I don't care what they tell you. It doesn't work. Okay, now, Word has gotten worse and worse and worse with every upgrade. After version 203, I don't even want to look at it anymore. And most big companies, like the big law firms, for example, because I work with a lot of big law firms, they will use older word processing like Word 203 and prior. They use the RTF format, and they use old Word. Okay, if you're using that, because the Word after 2007 is just so convoluted, it's unbelievable, then you want to preserve BibleWorks formatting, and that's what this option allows you to do. Okay, export the formatting to clipboard and editor. Alright, and again, the editor, if your version is 8.00 something like mine, don't use the editor, which is a real shame, because the best way to handle text in BibleWorks is to create it first in the editor and then export the editor RTF document to Word. That's how I made my Psalm 90 videos. That's how come I was able to make so many so fast. It's because I first used the editor. If you're in BibleWorks 9, none of this is probably a problem. It's just early versions of BibleWorks 8 where it's a problem. Okay? So generally speaking, you want to export your formatting, and of course, if you do that and you find out you don't like it, then just uncheck the box. Okay. Export reference string when exporting browse text. The answer is yes, you want to do that. See, this is the browse window. This is the browse text. And for some reason I'm having trouble again. Why am I having trouble with this computer? I can't get it to highlight. There. Sometimes it's a problem in BibleWorks with my computer. Alright, that's the browse window. Alright, when it says export the reference, see, they say reference, they mean verse reference, verse and chapter. Alright, for some reason I can't unhighlight now. There. See, that's what they mean by the word reference. Yes, you want the reference. Again, it's a copyright issue. Alright, export the reference string when exporting the text. Yeah, you want to do that. Okay, maybe for your private notes you don't, but that's kind of dumb, because then how are you going to find it? Unless you've got a super memory, which I don't. Alright. Remove carrier line fee. This is the opposite of this. This is send them, keep them. This is remove them. Alright, so if you have that checked, that's going to undo this, except for the clipboard. So if you're going to export, you want to remove it everywhere else, well then you check that. Which I submit that you shouldn't do. Just test it first and see if you like it. And if you don't, then you can always remove it later. Okay, now we get to Hebrew accents. What's a Hebrew accent? Okay, well, way up here, you see this? That's an ayin. That's the name of the letter. It's a sort of an open ah sound. Alright, generally, not always, because the vowel point tells you how to move your mouth. Alright. This particular letter, if I could, there, as you can see right here at the right of it, just to the left of that cursor, you see a little slanted, very slight slanted line. That's an accent. That's an accent mark in Hebrew. There's a lot of argument about whether that accent mark ought to be there among some Jews. Alright? But this is the standardized text. I submit that you do not want to remove the Hebrew accents. You want that unchecked, because if you're exporting it, obviously you're making it for a reason. If you change the text, how do you know you're going to remember if you did that? Number one. Number two, if you're giving it to somebody else, then you're going to first have to talk about the fact that you changed the text, because these are standardized texts now. So generally speaking, you're not going to want to remove the Hebrew accents when exporting. The only time when you might want to do it is if your word processor can't process them right. But Word will process them right if the font size is big enough. And so will WordPerfect. With Word and WordPerfect, you want your font size for Hebrew to be at least 18, 20, 22 points. All right? Because otherwise what it does is it squishes the vowel points. That's these little markers down here. See, like that little T underneath the fa? That little T is a comment, and that's telling you to sound a short A. It'll look funny. The vowel points will look funny if the text in the Hebrew is too small. Alright, so you want it to be at least 18, 22, 24 points in your export. Especially in Word and especially in WordPerfect. Okay. So remove Hebrew accents exporting? No. Okay, keep Hebrew word format. Again, like I said, Word and WordPerfect cannot handle the right to left Hebrew formatting. It's really best handled if you put it in the editor first within BibleWorks. And you see the editor tab right here. It works just like Notes did. But I can't show it to you because it's going to generate the glitch. Where I won't be able to use Control-C and Control-V anymore in this version. If you use the editor first and you format the whole thing as an editor document and then export it, that's best. Second best is to take this and keep the Hebrew wrap format when exporting the Hebrew text. Alright? Now, we get to the next thing. This is a really great feature in BibleWorks. Export Hebrew superscripts in Unicode. Now, the superscripts are unique to Unicode. Okay, so what's this business with Unicode? Oh, it's so great. See this? Okay, you see at the left, we're in output format options, verse list and range. See this box and this box? That means that you can export it as Unicode. In other words, right here, you've got BibleWorks' own fonts. Alright? But if you were to paste that, like into YouTube or some other document, for somebody else to see, they're only going to see gibberish unless they have the Hebrew fonts from BibleWorks. Alright, so instead what you can do is export it as Unicode. And you don't even have to learn the Unicode keyboard. Unicode sucks. I hate it. But that's what everybody uses on the internet. So now you can just export it without having to learn the keyboard. You can just paste it. And it'll automatically export if you've got these two boxes checked. Alright? So that's normally what you'd want to do. If you're going to export in Unicode, you need to check this box. That only applies to Unicode. Okay? Now I'm going to stop here and we're going to come back for another increment in a little bit.